Now I'm just going to make a tiny little V groove for my 50mm normal jaws to bite into. And I think that'll probably work. So you can see how ugly that catch was. Not bragging, just saying. Now I drilled a little hole in the side of here. Sometimes these things are tough to get off, and just for that purpose I just put this little thing in and give it a pop and it'll come right out. So we're going to use my Technatool 50mm jaws, and it's got a dovetail on the outside. The inside's got this just a little bit of a hawk tooth that'll bite in there real well. And one little tip I found, they've got this hole drilled in here for a set screw for the insert, but if this thing ever gets stuck on the lathe, which it does sometimes this little tool, just a little piece of soft carbon rod, about 1/4 of an inch, goes in there and helps pop it loose, just like it did this threading block. Alright, so let's see if I guessed right. Oh yeah, that'll work just fine. So I want to get the grain lined up evenly in the direction of the jaws. So the grain is running this way right between these jaws, so I get uniform pressure on all the jaws. Bite down on there. I probably could have done this to begin with. I'm just showing you how handy glue blocks are, but I think my glue is getting a little bit old and it just not holding as well as it should. But now that I've got it grasped strongly, I can come in from this side without too much trouble, I think, and hollow this out. It's going to be a very shallow bowl, so I don't need to get it too deep. I think actually I'll get this real close like this. Alright, now we're going to try another pass or two with this spindle gouge. Now before I get that wing in there, I'm going to back out, come in a little bit steeper. Now we're going to make this fairly thick because we want it to be fairly sturdy on the table or windshield, wherever it's going to be. So let's see. Alright, now I'm going to resort to a round nose scraper, which does real well on end grain. Another reason you want this bottom fairly thick is because it gets kind of fragile if it gets too thin. That's why we don't make bowls very often that way. So I'm going to come in here and use this to kind of round out the bottom. Soft touch. Try not to get too much of the edge in there. I want to undercut that shoulder just a little bit, but not much. And we've gotten rid of all the damage we've done. Alright, I'm going to resort to a little smaller scraper with a little tighter radius. So we're going to come in here, yeah, and roll down, back this off just a little bit. So I can support the neck a little bit better and just ease it in very carefully. Okay, now the reason I made this band a little larger is I don't want the ring to slip over it. So now we can shape the tip here. I'm going to put a round knob on it and then cove this down a little bit. So we're just going to use our regular spindle gouge for that. Get rid of that little bit of damage on the end from the tailstock. There we are. And I think we're going to put I'm going to put a couple of burn rings here. Alright, the challenge I think on making the ring holder is to keep it from looking like a male organ. So I'm going to that's why I added these 3 little rings. I think I'll burn those, and I'm going to put just a little bit of texturing there. So we're going to slow this down a little bit. It won't be much, but it'll be just enough to take your attention off the shape. And that's done that with a nice little swirl, which, as you know, anytime we do some texturing, we need to kind of set it off a little bit. So I'm just going to do the tiniest hint of a kind of paint the edges there. There, that looks good. Now we're going to use a tiny little burn wire. This is some nichrome wire, pretty small stuff. Okay. Okay, now we just need to figure out how to rechuck this thing so we can hold it to kind of clean off the bottom a little bit. And I don't have a good answer for that yet. Actually, I think maybe I do. I think what I'm going to do, I'll put it back in the chuck. I'm going to make the tiniest little V groove in here that we can catch this thing with our dovetail. I've got a number of various scrapers for Lord knows what I did, but I made this out of an Allen wrench with a sharp, and I think I can get in here and put in just enough of a ridge there. Maybe if I come in here just a little bit with a tool, just to get a little bit of a angle down there, a little bit of a flat. So let's see what we can do with that. Then I'll come in at the bottom. Got to be careful not to rub it against the edge there, but just enough to. There we go. Groove, but let's do a little bit more. Let's kind of feel where that thing is. Right there. I'm just going to come in here just a little bit. See that all right? Alright, now I need to sand that just a bit, and then we're going to reverse it. There we go. Now let's see if we can reverse chuck that. There, it feels good. Feels like it's biting, and we're not going to hold it hard. Just enough. See if it runs true. Oh yeah. So now all we got to do is we're going to taper this under, make it a little bit of an OG and shape the bottom. So we're going to do that with a spindle gouge. Just a little bit of an OG, and then we'll come in and flatten the bottom. And I'll get rid of these tool marks here. Very light cuts. Chamfer that just a little bit. Actually, I think I'm going to round it over. Need to make a bigger bead. Let's mark that a little bit. That's more like it. We'll leave that bead on it. Now we're going to round it. We're going to just hollow the bottom a little bit. The easiest way to do that with this sharp round nose scraper. It'll be fine on end grain. Light cuts, especially while it's trued up a little bit flat. Again, the shavings that are coming off are an indication of how sharp this is. I didn't bother to measure the bottom, the depth, but I know it's thick. And we're just going to put a couple of little decorative V-grooves here. Maybe one. Drop it down from the top. Touch this up with a little bit of sandpaper and call it good. It's amazing when you have jaws with sharp edges on them, you know, the chucking possibilities that does give you. Actually, if I needed to rechuck this, I could turn this in and drop it in right here, and I'd probably want to reduce the size a little bit to more of a perfect size, but there we go. There's our little ring holder. If you like this video, I hope you'll consider becoming a subscriber. It doesn't cost anything. All you got to do is click on the button. For a similar project to this, you might want to click on the video. I've got the link right here on turning a small ring bowl. So I hope to see you next week. Safe turning.